Hello, everybody, and welcome back to episode 3 of our Contemporary House series. And in this episode, we're going to focus on doing the roof, obviously, because it doesn't have one right now. But before we do that, I'm going to go in and do something or correct something that I kind of messed up in the last episode, which you may or may not have noticed. When I was doing the second floor here, let me just turn the, not the first floor, the second floor off. So we'll go down into this, and we'll delete that, because we don't need that for whatever reason. And these, which are apparently part of the second floor, but were not included in the second floor group, so I'll just highlight those, and then we'll say second floor there. And so now those should be part of that. So sometimes that'll happen if you have different fragments of layers. Say, for example, this section of layer 2 or floor 2 was not included in the second floor, then even though it's part of the second floor component, it won't toggle. So sometimes that'll happen, and it's a little easier to deal with if you have components, because you can toggle them on and off and move them around in groups. If you just have a bunch of geometry, it's much harder to do that because you have to deal with all of the other things that they're connected to, which can get very cumbersome. So it's better maybe if you were to just highlight, drag, highlight, and then change layer. And in some cases you may end up having to duplicate a model, which sometimes I will do. If you need to drag certain elements of what should be one component into another component, usually I'll just duplicate and then delete all of the pieces that shouldn't belong to the first one, and then group them as a second one, so that you can you have both pieces. And so what I messed up last time, we'll just go ahead and turn off the second floor again, was actually this door right here. We'll turn blueprints back on, and this one's kind of in the way, so we'll hide this one right now. So I erased this part of the floor by accident. I'll just turn the first floor back off, which is this section right here. I'm just going to draw some guides before I go into the component, because as soon as I do that, they'll disappear. And actually, I'll just draw lines straight over from this wall. We'll go in here, and we'll still be able to see those lines, because the blueprint, because it's an image, won't appear in the component. And pull it out like that, and I think that should fix that issue. Alright, then we have the top erased as well, so that's good. So turn the second floor back. Actually, what we'll do is we'll unhide that blueprint, so we're not wondering where it is later on. Turn the second floor on, turn that off. Alright, so now what we got to focus on, and there's still a lot of other little fine-tuning and tweaks and things going on, but what we're going to focus on now is figuring out the roof area. And to do that, we basically need to get rid of this wall. And not get rid of, but severely augment, because actually the bulk of the exterior wall, if we turn blueprints on again, is, and we might actually need to, do we need to bring this up? I'll grab this. So the bulk of the exterior wall is actually this one right here, because this wall angles up if we just pull our image over. Can't really see it from this angle, but unfortunately it's the only image we have. This obviously is the roof here, so that angles up. So the wall underneath that angles, and then this corner wraps around. So it'll actually be a large chunk of this, what would otherwise be the interior wall, on the exterior, and then that angles up around there. So we'll try and figure out how to get that to work. And so I think what we should do first is put up our 24-foot ridge height again. And then we will drag line to there, and another one, we'll say bring it an inch in. Turn the blueprints off again. Pop into this component. We'll drag a line up here. It doesn't matter if the guides are in the component or not. Just check and make sure that the blueprint wall is actually right on that edge, and it looks like it is. So we'll actually just drag that one in. So we'll turn blueprints back off again, now that we know for sure. And we'll drag, we'll just draw a line through it first. And we have, I think this is just an 8-inch wall. We'll do the same 8-inch wall there. Turn blueprints on and check. to make sure it looks accurate. It looks pretty close. And that's all we're really going for at this point, is close. Doesn't need to be super precise. Sometimes trying to make it super precise when you don't have all the details doesn't really work out. Even when you have all the details, sometimes you'll make very, very accurate measurements from blueprint dimensions, and even then it'll still be off a little bit somehow. So it's kind of weird how that works, but sometimes you got to deal with it. So we got to figure out where that there's a wall in here somewhere. So let's just toggle the second floor off. So that's actually more of an archway. We'll say 3'8". Then pop in here and draw lines up from those 2 points, and then push that through. And if it doesn't erase automatically, you can just erase it yourself. And go out here and erase those guides. And those are the only two, I think. Yeah, that's the only two lines there, and we're getting some of this going on. And again, this is because the new lines that I'm drawing, even though I'm drawing them in the second floor component, they're not defaulting to the second layer. And so what I actually need to do in that case is I'm just going to drag a box around it. We'll go up here and we'll say second floor. So the question is, when we look at this here, it looks like, it's got 4 of these lines. If you just look at the ridges in the roof. So if we go up here and see the 4 ridges, there's actually another 4 ridges. So I'm not really sure what's going on. If the roof just angles up once all the way to the back, or if it goes up to there and then angles and is sort of an offset roof. It's kind of difficult to see, but it does look like the base line here on this part of the roof actually just goes up to there. So it kind of looks like from here that this is just one angle. There's no other side to this gable, which is, I guess, kind of what it looks like. I think what we should do first actually is work on these two so we can find out what the base height should be, and then we can work on the other roof. And that looks way too high of an angle compared to that roof there, doesn't it? So that's too high. So we'll say 4 feet again. And like that. I think that looks pretty close to what we're working with. And then that means we need to bring these up 4 feet as well. And actually I'll just hit shift up here and match that line. Then shift on the green axis over to here and then down again. And because it looks like from the picture here that these 2 windows, the peak of this one lines up with these 2 windows here. And then that determines the next about foot of wood above the window. So I guess that's actually fairly close. And actually I think maybe what we'll do is bring that down a little bit, because that should be the height of the roof, not the height of the wood. So we'll bring this down, let's say 3'4". And I think we'll do the same thing there, because it does look, if we just look at this image again, that this window isn't really that square. It's actually more rectangular. And that may be because that the base is probably pulled up a little bit higher than we have it. So I think maybe we'll leave that for now. We'll actually go in here and pull this up a few inches, say 4 inches. And then we'll go back into this layer again, pull that up the same height. But it's still not as rectangular as it should be, so I think we will go into that. And we pulled that down, that was 8 inches. So pull this down 8 inches. We'll draw our line there like that. And so we'll pull this one down 8 inches now as well. Bring that over. And then the sort of the thickness above the window kind of looks like this ledge here, which is 1'6" roughly, maybe 1'7". And so we'll just take a guide and drag this up 1'7", like that. And that actually it actually goes above the original window height there. But I think that's fine, because then we can kind of fine tune it. So we'll go ahead and draw it like that for now. We'll draw it from this ridge there. And actually we'll go ahead to styles and turn on endpoints again, just so we can connect a little easier. So we'll draw this up to there, connect all these extra lines up. We'll actually have to find the roof height from here. So that's yeah, that's kind of a more obscure measurement. So rather than just typing that out again, we'll just do this. And then I can draw that up there like that. And actually, we won't bother connecting it to the outside wall because that wall's not really subject to these changes. And we'll actually push this down a little bit further just so we can keep track of that wall. So what we kind of need to do now is level off all of these walls so that they're all on the same height. And that way we can go ahead and figure out where the angle of the roof should be. So we'll just push that in, erase that, and push this all the way through to there. And then erase these and draw that line back in. And then we'll just, instead of tracing that across, we'll just go over here to inference it. And then we can get that pink line, and it shows that we're inferencing the existing angle. And then it will duplicate. But for some reason, this isn't filling in. So we'll just draw corner to corner here. Alright, so there's something weird going on with this. Ah, so that's what's going on. And sometimes that's all it is. Sometimes you get a little tiny line that didn't snap correctly to the axis. And you'll end up with really weird mistakes like this. And so we'll just draw this out. Now that fills in. Now we can draw this across and pull this line up here. And now that snaps to the axis. So sometimes you will run into issues like that where really tiny things just don't work as they should for whatever reason, just very tiny mistakes. And so you just zoom in on it, look at each corner, look at the lines, and figure out why it's not working. Because it's the back of the house now, we'll push that through like that, and we'll just continue this angle. So we'll just inference the line, we'll get our pink purple line there, and push that in. And that'll give us the angle of the roof. And we'll leave that like that for now, while we fill everything else in. So we'll inference this one as well, pull that up to there. And then do the same with these. And pull that across like that so that we get our angle and draw it down from the corner. And because these kind of meet in the corner, I think that'll probably remain like that. And we'll leave it there for now. Alright, so after a lot of fooling around, it seems, for whatever reason, I'm not even sure why, and I've never really encountered a situation like this, where the angle that's created from this side of the roof essentially determines the height of this side and this side of the wall, which then determines this angle, and then the angle that this side of the roof needs to go on. But for some reason, even though they're both using the same measurement, the distance here is off by that amount, which is about 3/4 of an inch. It really makes no sense to me at all, which really leaves us with one option, and that's to just instead of trying to dictate the roof or the height of these walls to place the roof, I'm actually just going to draw the roof and then use a little method to kind of cut away the unnecessary parts of the model. So what we'll do in that case for both of these roofs is just we'll leave the second model here, and then we'll just kind of do what we've already done and trace out this shape, except when we get over to here we'll kind of complete it and make it a bit more of a rectangular shape. Now we'll inference this side so that I get the right angle like that there, and then I can erase this side like that. And so that'll sort of determine where all these lines are. And then we'll just group that really quick. We'll say roof 1. Then we'll draw another line down from this corner here over to there and there. And then we'll square that off. And we'll reverse that as well and just say roof 2. So we'll just go ahead and hide these. So what I'm going to do is draw lines straight up from all of these, and we'll square them off just like that. And when we go into the inside here, we'll just erase all these extra little lines. Sort of apart from the windows, we're just going to erase everything just to rule out any sort of possibility of more issues stemming from existing geometry or weird little angles or anything like that. So this is how we will go about resolving this. Alright, so now we kind of have walls that are way taller than we need them. And we'll go ahead and say unhide all. And that'll unhide our roofs that we drew in. And so now that we have both of those angles, we'll just pop back into our second floor, highlight everything, say intersect face with model. So we'll go ahead and explode our second floor again. And then that will allow us to just sort of analyze what the intersections did with the roof area. So we'll go ahead and we'll just look at this section as well, because that section should wrap around probably something similar to that, because that's going to angle up there like that, and then that will leave that effect there. So we'll just connect this line for now so we can analyze it a little bit closer later, and then go back and erase all the extra lines that were drawn because of the roof pieces that we put in, and then we can connect them to get the angles back. So draw a line across there, and then we should be able to punch this hole out. That'll give us back our window. Alright, so I think that's all of those issues resolved, except I think we're going to run into another issue now. And it's getting really finicky, but we have this door here, which is fine the way it is there, but because this roof, I'll just pull the image back again, because this roof angles up on the outside from the beginning, if we were to just draw an angle sort of straight up to there, sort of on, similar to this axis, that door obviously is not going to be the right height, and it may not be. I think it's 7 feet as it is there now. It's probably not going to be that high, but based on that, it's going to be cut off sort of severely. So I think the issue that we're running into is this particular roof is kind of angling down too low, or perhaps it is too low itself already. So we're going to have to find a way to raise that back up again. And although, let's just, we'll go back into layers, turn blueprints on. Yeah, and so we can see, let's just turn the second floor off. So the archway is there, and then this sort of goes into its own laundry room or something like that. So based on all of that, it would seem that the roof can't just be one angle, because if we were to draw a line up to kind of clear that door, that one line there would effectively clear the peak height in order to get to the back wall. And as we can see here, this roof here does not meet up with this edge up here. So it's going to have to go back down again on this side, and I guess it probably meets up with this roof and goes back down on that side. So we'll assume that's what it does for now, because it really makes no sense otherwise. Let's just go in and we'll say unhide all. So then we have this roof piece. So we can go into this and we'll actually pull this up. Not sure what that looks like. Maybe 8 inches. Then pull this out to say 5 inches. Maybe 6 inches, pulling out another inch. And then the same on the back there. And actually might even have a bigger overhang on this end. So say another 6 inches. I'll say 8 inches on these ends. So that'll be another 2 inches there. It's kind of just finding a sort of a balance. So it's 8 inches. And maybe we'll have, it doesn't really look like a whole lot. So let's actually pull this out another 4 and then make that a foot. I think that'll look a little bit better. And we'll pop into this one as well. We'll draw a line up through there so we can cut off that weird angle piece. Pull that up, it's 8 inches. And pull this out 8 inches. And then we'll pull it a foot on the back. And then maybe another foot over on this side as well. So then we have the roofs for that section. Then we're going to have to go highlight this bit. And then we'll just draw a line in to meet up with these sections. And then I guess we can cut that out of the roof rather than the walls. So we'll go in here and just trace this section out. And so we'll now make another layer, say roof. And then we can just highlight these down, bring them to roof layer. We can toggle that on and off. And so this actually intersects with that wall. And so we'll bring this in the full distance. Bring that over 8. And so now I can just drag that along to there. Turn that back on. And then cut this out. And then we'll push this to meet up with that interior wall there. And now let's just turn the roof off again. We highlight all of this stuff. Let's just say second floor again and make sure that that interior space, we toggle the roof off. And then toggle the second floor off. That everything still looks the way it should. And so that line there is actually how the roof meets up with this one. Pull this back 3 feet. And so now you can pull that line right to the corner. And then just erase these corner pieces because that's how the wall should look. And we'll turn off the roof again. And then we can put this line piece back in. That'll correct that. Now we need to find out how that connects. So that's going to have to draw a line there and a line down there. And so now, if we move this out of the way, should just be able to go into this one and erase all these extra little edges. And then we'll put this line back in because I guess that got erased. Draw a line there. And then that should put in all the extra pieces that we need, apart from the bottom, which got erased as well. Alright, so that'll give us that angle. And I think what I'll actually do is push the roof out to the exterior there and bring the wall over rather than the roof going to the interior. It's not really too big of a deal, and it's kind of just preference. You could retexture how the inside looks later, but I think I'll actually change it now. So that it, I don't know, just looks a little bit better. And this wall is apparently 6 inches, not 8. So we'll correct that. So we'll pull, we'll have to pull this out another 2 inches like that. And then just push this along to the corner. Erase that bit. There we go. So now we should be able to square up these walls properly. So bring that over 8 and up 8 and bring this up to the corner. And now I need to figure out why this isn't filling in. It'll fill in if we draw a line across, but if we don't, it disappears. So there must be a reason why. So here we have another instance where even though everything should work, for some reason it just isn't. Because the line across the top here is on the green axis, and the line going across there is on the red axis. Same with the bottom. But for some reason, this particular line is not meeting up with that one. Even though it should, because all the lines are the same dimension. It's 8 inches across this way, and it's 8 inches across that way on the bottom. It still will not line up properly. Okay, well, all I can do in this scenario, because I honestly have no idea what's causing that problem, is I'm just going to draw a line straight across that way. And then, using that same method, I'm just going to pull it across to this side and erase these lines. so that we just now have a solid piece right through. And then what I'm going to do is draw a line down to there, erase this piece, and then push the wall back through. And we'll probably need to control push it. And then that way, we should be able to erase these lines now and have this be an actual piece that's filled in. And it's currently a reversed face. And so it's still causing a little triangle piece to be notched out for whatever reason. And I have no idea why. I guess it's just the way the geometry lines up. But we're going to have to leave it for now because it's taken way too much time to resolve this. And just looking at this bottom piece here, we're going to have to draw another line in across there like that. And then just erase these line pieces. And it looks like there's some hidden geometry underneath. And again, make sure you don't erase any lines behind the stuff that you are drawing, because you will erase the lines just by swiping them. And you'll end up erasing something underneath and having to redo it later on. Alright, so now if we viewed the house from a similar angle as the blueprint, I think it's, let me just move it over a little bit more again. I think they're pretty close. This window here is a little bit different, but actually the base comes up a little bit higher on that one because I guess there's no door on that. So we can actually go ahead and push that one up a little bit. Yeah, pull that up 10 inches. Like that. Maybe even a little bit more than that because it looks a little bit taller. Another 2 inches, so I'd bring that up a foot. And they are maybe it is a little bit too high. And maybe the angle is a little bit too great. So we can probably try and tweak that a little bit. So what we'll do is we'll just drag select, try and get just the top. And what I'm going to do for this is turn on parallel projection so that we can kind of see it without the perspective, so I can highlight everything that I'm trying to select here. I just want to get all the roof pieces, and then what we can do is press S for scale, turn the perspective back off again, or back on rather, and then we can just manipulate the scale, and we can go in and fine-tune all that stuff after. But I think if we just leave it where it was, if we just bring it down a tiny bit, maybe even to there, so that would be 0.9 of what it was. I think that looks even a little bit better. Just drag the house back over again. I think that's pretty good. I think that about matches the sort of the roof look that we have now. And so that'll leave us to squaring off these edges. So we can just go ahead into this, and we can see how far down that was squat. So it was about 7. Yeah, okay, so we'll just pull up a ruler, 8 again, bring this back up to 8. We can sort out all the issues that we sort of created by mashing it down a little bit. We'll draw a line straight up and pull this over just to square off this edge. And then we'll do the same for here as well. And we'll actually draw up from the outer point on this one. And we'll draw this over because there's a bit of because there's some stuff going on in the corner there. We'll actually draw out from there rather than pushing it. Drag to there and get that little tiny corner piece. Can't forget that. And so that sort of does it for that part of the roof, and that's all now resized and scaled. And so now we can focus on doing this part. And I think what we're going to have to do is use this angle for the back piece of the roof. And maybe bring these down maybe another inch. So we'll just go in and highlight, double click the top there. Bring them down 1. We can go back into this one. And again with the move tool, we'll just drag it down 1. Alright, so I think that looks pretty good. And these are now on 7-inch roofs. I think that looks a bit better. We can go ahead and change the way some of that looks later. And we will add the ridges to the roof in a little bit as well. And I think that'll give some of the height back to it as well. So now we need to figure out the angle for this. Wherever the height of this particular roof begins, I think is where it should begin on the back side as well. So we'll bring that over, and we'll kind of just do a very mundane way of figuring out where that line would be. and just by drawing it kind of a square over from that roof point, which tells me it'll be right here. So now we'll figure out the angle of this roof, grab our protractor and put it in here, just draw a line straight up, and then draw a line up to this corner. We can see it's a roughly 67.8 degrees. So then we can do the same on this side. Go from here, draw a line straight down, 67.8. So now we can see that that is the angle that that will create from there. So assume that it's, we'll say 2 feet lower. I think we can get away with that. Okay, now we're going to have to kind of draw a temporary roof for this. So we'll draw a line here just so we can inference it. And we'll just draw another line up like that. Yeah, there we go. Draw that up as well. So we can erase this. Okay, so now we'll figure out where this center point intersects with the lines that we've drawn. So we'll just draw a big triangle there. We can draw a line up through there like that. And so now that we know where that is, so now we need to find essentially the angle of this bit. So we can draw a line up to the base reference point. And then we can take our protractor and we'll just look at it on the side axis here so that we get the red to show. And then we can draw an angle to about there. It's kind of steep, but that's pretty much what it looks like, I think, in the image. Is 45 degrees. So that's, I guess, what we're going to go with. We can draw a line straight down from here. And actually, we'll take our tape measure now and then drag this 45-degree line over. Drag this down to, let's say, there for now. But because we want that 7 16ths line to persist, or 7 11/16ths, we'll draw that there like that, and we can continue this line up, and then draw this one down to here. And we'll just draw an arbitrary point right now. Delete all these guides, clean up some of this mess. And so that would appear to be the roof. Because I don't really have any other reference images of how this should look, and because there's a door here, and actually, if we turn the blueprints on, there's actually another room in here that's sort of a closet, so there needs to be another door in there. So obviously the roof can't go up on this angle because it would be just far too high. And because the roof is already at that angle on this side, I think it makes sense for it to cross over. And then if we look here, where we were talking about earlier, how the roof actually gets wider at the top, I think that makes sense because it's actually coming into the existing roof that we have here. Again, this doesn't really matter. This is just sort of my solution for this problem. It may not even be what this house looks like. If we could find more images, it may look completely different than this. But for now, this is what we're going to do because it doesn't really matter and it's not critical. But if you're following along and you think you have a better solution, then you can let me know, or just go ahead and do it yourself that way. And because all of these other pieces are separate groups and components, what we'll actually do is we'll turn them off, turn off the roof as well, and we'll just double click this, and then we can just pull it across like that. So we can create a big roof. We can turn everything back on again, and we can see where they then intersect with the existing house. This piece for sure needs to be cut out. So what we'll actually do there is, instead of saying intersect faces with model, because it's going to start drawing lines all throughout the house, it's for this specific piece, we'll just draw it by hand. So we'll turn off K, and actually probably turn off shadows as well, just get a better view. I'll actually just go ahead and group this. We'll say side roof, and we'll toss that into the roof layer. We can turn that off. Okay, and go into this again. Draw that across and erase that. And now this is all going to be exterior wall. So what we're actually going to want to do is kind of square that back off again. All right, so that's that squared off. And that's how that roof looks underneath there. So we can turn the roof on, and we'll leave that there so that we can inference the existing lines and draw them up to meet the new side roof piece that we have. We can just inference the corners. Okay, now we can turn the roofs back off again. And then what we'll do is just use the push-pull tool. Drag that across there. Like that. And then what we'll do, draw a line straight up from here. Drag this across to cover off that corner piece. So now when we turn the roofs back on again, everything should match up. And then we'll go into this roof, and then we'll say intersect faces with model. Then we can turn everything else off. And we'll actually hide these for now because they're sort of in the way. Draw a line straight down from there. And there's actually a few other pieces that are on the wrong layer, so we'll toggle those off. Go back into this, and then we can just start erasing these extra lines. Now if we turn all this stuff back on, this roof actually kind of wraps around this corner a little bit, but then it just cuts off. So we'll leave it there for now. We can toggle all this stuff back off again. We can see how that intersects, and obviously that drops down way too far right there. And so we'll just say, I'll bring it down to about here. And we can drag this piece off. And this is actually kind of triangular on the bottom, so we'll draw a line straight down to there, and then like that. Then we can push this across like that. And maybe even kind of push this up a tiny bit just so it's not so tall. Maybe to about there. I think that's pretty good. And if we look at this now, drag this over, and again, just try and find a similar angle to the blueprint that we have. It almost looks now like the roof is at too steep of an angle, doesn't it? So I think what we're going to have to do, and it's kind of been a lot of trial and error this episode, and that kind of sucks and is unfortunate, but especially if you're trying to follow along, so my apologies, because there's a lot of different tweaks and changes going on, but I think we're going to have to change the angle of this roof, except I'm not really sure how that's going to work, because, I mean, I guess it's probably fine. We can probably trim some of this off. So we'll bring this down, and we'll hide all the pieces again, except for the roof. And actually, we'll probably hide these two pieces. Turn off hidden geometry. We'll go into that, and we need to find where where that door is. So let's maybe drag it to here. I think that's maybe good. And then of course we're going to want to maintain that 7 and 11/16. Drag that up there and then over. So again, what we'll do is just erase the existing model. Even though it was a little bit of work, it'll actually be easier to do it this way, so that we instead just have one line going straight across, or one shape, and then drag it across again, like that. We'll go and turn on the second floor. All we really need to change for this, if we just go in and change the angle of this piece, we'll turn the roof off. We can just pull that across to there. And then go into the second floor, turn the roof back on again. And then retrace this section. And then just essentially just push this piece through to there, and then push that piece through to there. And then this piece to this wall. Then erase those lines. That should fix the problem. Then we can go and turn the roof on again. And we'll just push the roof back to about here. That's where it's going to go through. And then we'll unhide. Now we can intersect faces again. And we'll turn everything off and rehide these pieces. And then we'll just erase. There we go. For some reason this line didn't cut through, but we can fix that. Alright, turn the roof back on and then unhide. There we go. Push this roof back over to there. Actually wraps around a little bit. So we'll wrap it around about that far. And pull this piece up because there's a little tiny fragment behind there getting pushed as well. And then we'll grab that, turn K off, push that back to the corner, and there we go. This came out an extra, about a foot. So we can do the same there as well. Bring this down another 12 inches, like that. Drag that across to there. Erase these extra lines. I'll have to put this line back in. There we go. I think that will wrap up doing the roof, but if I'm honest, I feel like it still looks a little bit too tall. So I already have this exploded, so I'm just going to do what we did before, and we'll grab the roof and the top few lines. We'll grab the side roof now as well. We'll drag this down just to make sure that there's no pieces that weren't getting dragged. And we'll drag it down to about 0.95. See what that looks like. Because if we look at this, these windows here, they're still taller than they are wide. And this one is much more rectangular. There's also a bit of a perspective going on here, so it's hard to tell. But I think that looks a bit better. And we can adjust all the changes and tweaks we did already to skewing the roof down a little bit further. But that should do it, I think. That looks better. Not too much of a change, but I think it's just enough to help remove a bit of the height from the roof. And I think over here looks okay as well. I think that looks okay. And let's actually just go in and have this wrap around a few inches as well, maybe a foot. That's probably how that would look. So I think that'll do it. I think that will wrap up the roof. We can put in the runner lines or the little ridges that they have on the roof here another time because this video is already long enough. But I think, yeah, that's going to go ahead and wrap up this part. We'll focus on doing some of the windows and doors next time and sort of figuring out the perspective of this house in the next episode. So thank you everybody for watching. I'll see you next time.